All right, and welcome to Fastbreak Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm here once again with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone. I'm here with Dave DeFore. Dave, how are you doing?
Great.
Glad to hear it. Would you like to elaborate? I felt like I gave you a lot of energy.
That's it.
I feel like I threw a lot of energy your way. And then like a noise canceling headphone, you swallowed it up.
Got to tell you, I'm watching my guys right now. The Olympic qualifying is happening, and
yes,
my guys are they're down to Latvia right now, but Latvia is the home team. So
are any of the Bertans boys playing?
I'm not sure if Bertans is playing or not. I'm guessing he is. That Latvian team, man, they are insane. Like the way that they run, and just they don't have any great individual defenders, but they manage to defend somehow with a bunch of guys that look like they're on stilts running around, like they're so skinny.
Do you have a secret feed for these qualifiers? Or are they on like ESPN Plus or something?
Well, I will say this: it's on free TV in Georgia.
Well, there you go.
One TV. If you guys want to listen to,
because like Luka Doncic is playing today. He might be playing right this second. Slovenia tries to qualify. I want to be able to watch these things. I haven't checked out exactly where I can see
if
them.
you don't use something like Kodi, which is a media streaming center, which has like sports feeds, always check the local country. I do believe the Slovenian national, like the TV channel carries it, because when I was doing World Cup prep last year,
right,
one of my jobs was to find film.
I remember this.
Teams were hiding film. And so one of the ways that I used to find film was, like the local broadcast. So Spain played Slovenia, and it was only broadcast in Spain, and there was no replay. It was nowhere. I managed to rip it live while the game was going. So Slovenian TV, I'm pretty sure, does carry it. Always check that. Yeah. If there's a country that you're interested in watching,
you need to tell me more about this streaming hub, because I just cut the cord. We talked about it. I canceled my Xfinity. I got a bill for negative $77 last month. Pretty sweet. But I already am struggling. I thought I had everything covered. Yeah. Between like Hulu and HBO and whatever else. But all these soccer games have been on Fox Sports 1. And I just turned out I don't have Fox Sports 1. So now I'm like, do I got to add something official? I've been using some, we'll call them dark web streams. I've been watching them. But
it's like a smart TV, or are you an Apple TV guy?
I don't have an Apple TV, but I have numerous devices. I mean, I got
a Roku.
I got multiple Rokus. I got multiple Fire Players. I got Chromecasts.
We'll work this out, Keith. Okay. Don't worry. I'll add you to Dave Flicks. That'll be.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
And we're connected on Plex, but I'll be honest, I haven't found anything in your library yet. You can tell me again offline exactly what I'm looking for, because everything I'm searching for is on my other buddy's thing. I was trying to find the end of Starman, the Jeff Bridges, John Carpenter film from the early 80s. I watched the first 2/3 of it on June 30th, then fell asleep, and it left Netflix that day.
So I'm more of a Last Starfighter guy. Lou Gossett
there you
Jr.
go. Yeah. Wow. I read the book, The Last Starfighter, when I was a kid after seeing the movie. Anyways, Dave, there's a lot to talk about. This is a whirlwind of events for us. Lots
happened
watchers.
In the last week.
Well, I mean, we did not just pump out content for the sake of content. I mean, if you want more of a blow-by-blow, grits and grinds, I've been following the draft and some free agency stuff, of course, from a Grizzlies perspective. But we just sat back. We let it wash over us. There was a draft, and then free agency kicked off. There's been trades.
I called Zach Edey to Memphis.
You called a few things, honestly. So we have to get into a lot of stuff. But before we do it, of course, we have to do our breakfasts. Have you had any food today, Dave? What's your breakfast?
Well, again, as a newly christened breakfast guy.
Yeah,
I had a piece of toast and 2 hard-boiled eggs.
That is just a great classic hard-boiled cop detective novel. That's your breakfast right there. You're the private eye.
Crack some sea salt, a little bit of Cholula. Hot sauce.
Was that Paul Newman and Harper? You're just you're eating waking up.
Yeah, but I'm not toast. I'm not cracking the egg though. Like I'm buying the I go to Aldi and it's like $3 for like pre-cooked
Wait,
Hard-boiled eggs.
you bought pre-hard-boiled eggs?
It's convenient, man.
It doesn't feel like the thing I would criticize, but for whatever reason, someone
You
who
wanna
purchases,
criticize.
I purchase all things out of convenience. And
I
this,
make my own cold
to
brew.
me, I'm like, what? Yo, you make
But
your own
honestly,
cold brew,
I make my
but
own
buy
cold
your
brew.
hard-boiled eggs. That's staggering.
It really is just, it's so convenient, right? Like, it's just, I don't have to do any work. There's just a bag of eggs already cooked.
I mean,
Now,
you don't even have to like clean
eggs.
you don't have to clean like the pot, basically, because it's just water. Just boiling water. Yeah,
it's
like
more,
okay.
it's the time involved.
Yeah, there's time.
It's the somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes that it takes, like between setup, boiling the egg. Then you got to put it in the ice water. And I don't have an ice maker, Keith.
I can't explain
it. I have a countertop ice maker. Ice is a precious commodity in my house. I use it in my homemade cold brew.
Gotcha.
So having the ice water set up,
yeah,
just to put hot eggs in when I can just buy them already made, saves me a lot of trouble.
I can't explain it. There's no reason I should be upset by this because that is the most Keith thing ever. Like I am all about like, no, I didn't make that myself. I bought it.
Pretty much cook every other meal.
Yeah. And I know you do all these things. Like you work with your hands.
Yeah.
You know, like you can fix things. And I'm like, yeah, I paid a plumber to, you know.
Now, when I want a jammy egg, I make it. You know, my little 7-minute
What's a jammy egg?
Like, you know, like not a hard boiled, but like a medium soft boiled egg,
okay.
You know, yeah, something jammy. So if you want a little bit of a runny yolk,
gotcha.
7 minutes, put it in about an inch.
I've never heard it called a jammy egg. That's amazing.
Yeah,
good breakfast.
Spread it on toast, man. It's delicious.
My breakfast was not good. It was a cupcake. We in our household, my 6-year-old has a Lego minifig. That I bought her. That's a mini figure. If you don't know, I've been speaking in Lego code for so.
I play video games, so
there you go. We have this Lego minifigure that she named and declared that his birthday was going to be on July 1st. So she said for the birthday she wanted to have cupcakes. So we went and got cupcakes, and we got a lot of them.
My God,
it was the rate. There was no good. Like these cupcakes are not very good. But like you couldn't even buy 6 of them. You couldn't even get 6 with like, so we have a dozen bad cupcakes from
So
Kroger.
you had one yesterday.
Yeah, I had one yesterday, and we have tons.
And you knew it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And then you had it again this morning for breakfast.
Yeah.
Why would you waste it? Okay, but
I'm not. Now, what am I wasting?
It's not good. Well, listen, man. Like you're eating trash. I at least want the trash
I ate trash today.
Good.
I have some eggs in my fridge. I'm saving them for another day. Today, I ate some trash. No, yesterday.
But if you're gonna eat trash.
Yesterday, after the kids got home from day camp, we had a little birthday party. They had a cupcake then. After dinner, let them have another cupcake. We had.
Oh, you want these things gone? These are so bad.
We're also traveling for July 4th. Like we're leaving town tomorrow afternoon.
You can't be leaving cupcakes around the house.
We've knocked out 7. There's 5 left.
Oh my God. 7 bad cupcakes. I would have thrown those things away, man. If something is bad, like life is too short. I say this all the time. Like if you open a bottle of wine and you don't like it, pour it out. If you didn't spend all that, I mean, like why drink it if it's not good?
That leads me.
Life is too short for bad cupcakes, Keith.
That reminds me of what I consider to be a financial flex. It's not really. It's a sign of maturity. But I feel like there was a time in my life, and I feel like many of us have been there, where like if you're at a bar, there's no way you're leaving any part of your drink. You know, like you bought a beer.
Right.
And you're like, oh, let's go somewhere else. You're like, wait, let me finish my beer. Right. Like that's a part of you for a while. But then I think you hit a level of maturity. In my mind, maybe it was, I'm no longer living on $400 a month. And it was like, you know what? I'm going to leave half a beer, and I hope somebody notices.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if it's warm, that thing is getting left behind. I'm not drinking warm beer.
Oh, or if it's bad. I'm not even saying this could be a good beer, but you're like, it's time to go. I don't need to finish my beer. I'm an adult. I don't have to down this.
I will say this. You know, I grew up in a, you clean your plate.
Yeah.
Right. Before you get up. And now I don't necessarily feel that way. I'll take stuff home if I'm eating out at a restaurant or whatever, but that is a big deal. Oh, wait. I don't have to eat all this.
You don't have to eat it all. Yeah. Although cupcakes, I just feel like I shouldn't waste it.
You should absolutely throw those cupcakes away.
Anyways, those were our
If you're
breakfasts.
going to trash your body, do it with stuff that tastes good, Keith. Get creme brulee. You know, I mean,
where am I? I'm not going to make it.
Why not?
Sounds like a lot of work.
I mean, cream, eggs.
I don't know how to make
Ain't
creme
no big deal.
brulee.
A little bit of sugar.
Those were our breakfasts. After our breakfast, we moved to our breakfast in bed. Apologies. This is my chance usually to make right something that I got wrong on a previous episode. It is frequently the first time we talk about the NBA, which the show is supposed to be about. Before we get to the NBA, I do have an apology. I feel really bad that I forgot that there was a third Bad Boy movie that came out before the fourth Bad Boy movie. I would like to apologize.
It's good.
To Michael Bay.
Very long.
The third one or the fourth one? You said the third one was good.
It's
so I
want to
I want to apologize to Michael Bay and the estate of Jerry Bruckheimer. I will say as my excuse, when Bad Boys 2 came out, I was an art snob, a very poor art snob, and I thought it was garish. Maybe it was long too. I was turned off by the excessive violence. I thought it was also preposterous. The movie ends with them invading Cuba.
They invade Cuba.
Okay, the Miami cops invaded Cuba with like a full-scale military landing, and little artsy Keith, little pretentious Keith was like, this is horrible and offensive.
By the way, they had to have borrowed that stuff from some other movie that somebody wrote.
There
was no way that
Michael
was
Bay had already shot all this stuff. Like we have a beach landing in near Guantanamo.
It's gonna have to this is something from some other movie. I don't know. There's shades of The Rock in there. You know, I rewatched the first and second one before I watched the third one, just so I was making sure that I was up on the
first one is like a lean 90s action movie type thing. But anyways, that Bad Boys 2 turned me off so much that for whatever reason, when like 15 years later, the third one came out, it's just been erased from my brain. It also might've been because COVID happened, I think a month after it came out.
I think that's what it is.
So that
came
also
out in January 2020.
Yeah. So that pushed it out of my brain. Basketball apology, Dave. Here's my basketball apology. Last episode, I called out Drew Eubanks for turning down his player option. I said, what are you doing, Drew? You stunk last year. You're a big. You should be lucky for whatever you get. Well, Keith did not know it was the summer of the center. And Drew Eubanks got a tiny bag from the Jazz, 2-year, $10 million. You were pointing out in a world of Wemby, teams need big players. They need Wemby stoppers like Drew Eubanks. And so the Jazz, I ask you, Dave, is the Jazz getting Wemby stopper Drew Eubanks? Does that make Walker Kessler?
Yeah, he's available.
Superfluous. Okay,
he's available. Right. I mean, the stories I'm hearing are coaching issue.
Uncoachable
for Walker Kessler.
That's why Steve Kerr wouldn't play him.
Maybe I don't know.
He wouldn't play him alongside other bigs. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he didn't really have a good season last year, so I mean, maybe it's a play issue too. But yeah, I think Walker Kessler's probably available. But
speaking of the summer of the center, Dave, we have breaking news.
Oh,
James Wiseman has just signed with the Pacers.
Interesting.
Why do the Pacers need James Wiseman and Miles Turner?
Well, wait a second.
And Pascal Siakam and Obi Toppin and Isaiah Jackson and Jarris Walker. I ask you why.
It's a lot of bigs.
Feels like somebody could be on the move.
Maybe.
Why won't my team trade for Jarris Walker or Isaiah Jackson?
I don't know. You gotta call and ask. I don't mind this. Look, Wiseman as a toolsy guy, like we all see the tools when he does stuff. Let him go out there and run around a little bit with little pressure on a team where he's probably not going to have to play much.
I agree.
This is
take a flyer. Why not?
Yeah, I like it.
Anyways, summer of the center.
Just banking on a little bit of, okay, the Warriors situation was so weird, and then he went to Detroit, which is
horrible work environment. Another horrible work environment. We got to get him in a good culture place where people like each other.
Yeah, the guy clearly has like athletic ability. It's just, can he play basketball? Probably not, but doesn't hurt. I mean, would you rather sign James Wiseman and try him out, or give Bronnyjames a guaranteed contract?
Bronnyjames. I mean, what leverage?
Yeah,
to pull off that guaranteed contract, multi-year.
Now, here's the question:
Dave, a multi-year contract. His dad isn't even signed yet.
They're not like Is this circumventing the salary cap? Is this like when the Morris twins were sharing a bank account and they both got paid? And trying to
Mm,
figure this out. Like, how does this work?
there are so many interesting questions about the Bronny James saga, not related to Clutch forcing him to the Lakers, about these things. Does dad pick up all of Bronny James's checks?
How they make him pay? I mean, he's a
rookie,
rookie,
has
right?
Bronny had his own bank account? Does Bronny have his own health insurance?
Is Bronny going to move out?
What does Bronny call LeBron when he wants the ball?
Hey, Pops, pass me the ball. What is it
OG?
like? What is it like
OG? When LeBron,
when LeBron gives him the disappointed look? What's that going to be like?
Will he do the J.R. Smith arms out to Bronny? I'm excited about it. Let's talk about.
I actually hope it's awesome.
Let's talk about more free agent things. Let's talk about the summer of the center. Let's talk about our least significant and most significant moves, and we'll do all of that right after this short break. All right, Dave, I want to start with what we'll go big picture. Okay, we don't mind. We don't have to go divergent path. What big picture? What's the most significant thing that's happened in the NBA in the last week? This could be draft, free agency, trade, whatever. What do you think is the most significant move?
I don't know. That's a tough one because some of these moves, Paul George going to Philly is
maybe the biggest move.
It's the biggest move, but it's also not earth shattering because it's Paul George, who's a good player, but he's not best player on a championship team level player. He is constantly underperforming, I would say, in big moments, and he's hurt a lot. It almost to a certain degree, he's going
last year. He's had a very healthy last couple seasons, right?
Yeah, but then
last season, the year before, maybe it was
been banged up in the playoffs, and maybe that's front of mind for me. This is all about like that move is very much about Embiid being healthy, more so than I think getting Paul George. Like getting Paul George is great, but if Embiid's not healthy come playoff time, it doesn't matter. So I'm a little. It's not like I don't want to downplay it. They got the best player that was available to get realistically. I don't know. It really doesn't feel like it actually affects the top. So I think what Oklahoma City did, getting Alex Caruso, like that might have, and even though it was such a small move, because they gave up nothing to get him, it may secretly be one of the bigger moves. Signing Hartenstein, they've immediately solved two giant gaping issues that they had that we all knew they had going into the playoffs last year. They solved those immediately. It's July 2nd, and the Thunder right now look like they should be the favorite in the West.
Yeah, so I agree. I think you nailed the two biggest things that have happened as far as the landscape of the league and maybe the title chase. I'm of two minds of the Paul George thing, where yeah, he's not the best player on a title team, and yeah, like even like my friends and like online acquaintances who cover the Clippers, they're like, what are you gonna do? Like he's not that he's good, but he's not that all that type thing. And you know, they're like Harden basically just as important to the Clippers as Paul George. And I don't know, but Paul George doesn't have to be the best player on a title team. Embiid has to be the best player on the title team, and Embiid and Maxey plus Paul George, that is formidable. And like, that's really stinking good. And, you know, you like the issue is going to be, like you said, the health of Embiid, but I mean, what would you rather bet on, the health of Embiid in the playoffs or the health of Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs? And I don't know, maybe both doors lose, but it's like
one of the more interesting things about the Paul George move is actually what it does to the Clippers. I mean,
yes.
Are they a play-in team? Maybe. Like
I don't get what the Clippers
I'll say
have done.
Think, you know, James Harden is probably going to have a great year. We don't know anything about Kawhi yet. We don't know what he's going to look like.
Yep.
I think Norm Powell that's a great guy to just slide into the starting lineup. You're going to get high quality offense. Like he might give them 20 points a game next season. Playing, you know, if Kawhi is healthy and playing off James Harden. This is everything works out right. They got Nick Batum. Obviously, like everybody loves Nick Batum. The Derek Jones Jr. signing is interesting, but I don't know how much it moves the needle for them offensively. It's all about Kawhi. If Kawhi is going to be healthy, can he give him 60 games? And then what happens when Kawhi is not out there? Can James Harden be a 30-point a game night, type of player again? And all of this going into a new arena. It's a disaster.
I'm sorry. I think you're contractually obligated to say going into a new arena. That is a phrase that never enters my brain. Never crosses my brain. I never think about it at all.
Because it's going to this spotlight is the reason I bring it up.
They're going to have that fan wall. It's going to be amazing.
It is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a train wreck or not. James Harden might be good enough that they don't have that much of a drop off in the regular season, but their ceiling is so much lower without Paul George.
The Clippers, I mean, yes, they had these luxury tax concerns, and maybe Ballmer, he just passed Bill Gates as far as wealth. So maybe like that's why the second apron matters right there. Saves him some money. But they replaced Paul George with Derek Jones Jr., Mo Bamba, Chris Dunn, and Kevin Porter Jr. Like what? None of those players. All right. Airplane mode, fun to watch when he has someone to throw him lobs. Is James Harden going to be throwing him all these like spectacular highlight lobs?
Maybe,
but like, I feel like Derek Jones Jr., I think there's a couple of guys who changed teams this year, who I think are leaving ideal situations for not ideal situations. And I think the Clippers are going to get like Chicago Bulls, Derek Jones Jr. I think
Derek Jones, by the way, this is the weirdest signing that anyone made as far as players go.
Yeah.
This was the weirdest jump. Number one, it seems like he got $1 million per year extra. Right.
Okay.
But in California, not Texas. So I don't know that really you get any extra money. You got the same amount of years.
You got
to go to a worse situation. Now, I will say, the sneaky part about Texas that gets you is the super high property taxes. It is very secretly a high tax state. So maybe it's not, but I don't get for $1 million leaving an ideal situation.
Seemed perfect
for a situation that is combustible, even because it's James Harden.
Well, not even combustible. Let's say James Harden is just good. I'm fine with assuming James Harden's going to be good again. I think the thing you said about Norm Powell moving into the starting lineup, I feel like that's necessary. I don't think you can play Zubac and Terrence Mann and Derek Jones Jr. at the same time with Kawhi and James Harden. That is not, that's very shooting starved. I don't get the fit totally. I don't get the Clippers bailing on their plan. Like they had a plan, and we're not totally sure about the whole Paul George contract negotiations, but it seems like the Clippers, when they made that trade, whatever, 5 years ago, it was an all-in move. When they traded for James Harden last year, they further pushed. They're like, oh, I'll take my watch off and the deed to my house off and put it all in the middle of the poker table. Cause like I'm betting everything. I'm going even deeper in the hole to then walk away by not keeping Paul George. You're kind of cutting your losses, but I don't feel like the Clippers are going to be that competitive now. At least they have a long way to go. The Thunder thing.
And they signed Kawhi. Look, the truth is when they signed Kawhi to that extension, they were actually handcuffed to signing Paul George to the extension too. And they failed. And and if it was about the extra year, they really should have just paid it and you deal with it later. Because every contract that you're signing a guy who's 34 years old, you're paying for the first 2, and if you're lucky, 3 seasons. You've already really gotten your money's worth out of Paul George. You just need to keep this thing going and hope that it paid off with a title run. I'm very confused by that. And it makes me wonder if there was more personality stuff that we don't know about that hasn't come out yet. I know Law Murray's got a new story up over at The Athletic. I haven't had a chance to read it yet this morning, but I wonder if that's something that we might hear about this summer. Like how much of this was just Paul wanted to change scenery.
Yeah. Also, there's like, the Sixers have, what's the term? Ownership over Clippers draft assets. in the future. So like them making the Clippers worse, kind of amazing.
Yeah.
The Thunder thing, yeah, I think the Thunder, maybe those moves of them keeping their entire team from last year and then adding Hartenstein and adding Alex Caruso is a big, like, whoa.
And they drafted Nikola Topic.
Yeah, and they're just gonna redshirt the guy or something.
Yes, well, he's got a torn ACL, so he was going to redshirt anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I don't love, and I could be speaking ignorantly about their cap situation here. I thought they were still maybe in the market to add even another player, like a shooter, like, but they use, it looks like a lot of their cap space maintaining or keeping Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, and they get those guys to what should be affordable contracts, hopefully
movable contracts,
and they are movable. But like, I was kind of like, as someone who maybe fears the Thunder, was like, what if they use their cap space and future picks to bring in like a Cam Johnson, like a 4th or 5th starter who can just shoot? So
it's
yeah,
still doable for them.
Okay.
And like all these contracts, so if you look at the DeAnthony Melton deal in Golden State, the 12.8, anything in that 10 to 14, 15 range is perfect for aggregating for trades.
Yeah.
They have all their picks still and everyone else's picks, right? Like they didn't give up any of this.
Right.
Heavy. Like
they famously gave nothing to the Bulls. So you can have Josh Giddey. You get no picks. Yeah.
And so they're in a really good position come trade deadline season when they know what this team is going to look like for the first few months of the season. They're going to be able to go in, and if Kevin Durant or whoever it is,
Lauri Markkanen,
for instance, right? Yeah. Now I don't know how much Lauri fits there, because if you're gonna play Chet and you're gonna play Hartenstein together, now all of a sudden,
well, how much are they going to play together?
I don't know.
I don't feel like they would. Maybe but I feel like they would overlap.
My gut reaction to this was that Hartenstein probably comes off the bench.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. We won't know. I know they like the way that they played last year, which was 5 out, and Chet is a 5 out center. But can Chet play the 4? I'm not sure if his shooting volume is high enough that you can play him out there for long stretches with Hartenstein. But Hartenstein's rebounding, it almost does it unlocks Chet's 3-point shooting a little bit more, because when you think about those offensive rebound kick out threes, Chet could stand to benefit from a few of those. So I think they'll play together some. I'm just not sure how much. I mean, they were incredibly creative last year with some of their lineup stuff. So maybe it's spot starts for Hartenstein. I don't know. Hartenstein was so good. Yeah. I'm just not sure that they can keep him on the bench, and his passing is going to help them a lot.
The other element to the Hartenstein free agent move is it hurts the Knicks quite obviously, and it makes me like the Mikal Bridges trade less, where I thought once they paid that steep price for Mikal Bridges, I'm like, yeah, that's great. Who cares? He's cheap for the next 2 seasons. He's a ideal complementary piece, or maybe second best player even on the team. But like, for me, I was nerding out on the idea of Brunson and Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and like DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. And even if Julius Randle stays, all that stuff amazing with Hartenstein as this bedrock 5. And yeah, they can do a lot of like, Anunoby sort of as the 5 with Randle at the 4. They have Mitchell Robinson still, but so much about that trade was thinking this team is right there, or maybe just one rung beneath Boston because of Hartenstein. Now I'm like, well, they're not. That hurts them. And I don't know if they baked that in, or if they thought they could have kept him, or they thought maybe they still could be competitive in their offer and they were not. I don't know.
Mo today mentioned Jared Allen as a guy that the Knicks should be making phone calls about. And that
Kenny Atkinson is saying he don't want to trade anybody. Because they just Donovan Mitchell gets his extension today with an opt-out, so he can get that 10-year max. What's the word for that? Just the 10-year veteran. It's going to be huge. Jason Tatum level
designated
extension.
Veteran player extension.
But right now they're saying, the Cavs are saying they want to keep everybody. They want to run back Garland, Mitchell, Allen Mobley. So we both kind of agree that the Thunder and the Sixers, those may be the most significant. What's the least significant move that's happened? This is my passion. What's the least consequential thing that's occurred?
Well, I mean, least consequential signing is DeLon Wright. by the Bucks.
He's on the Bucks, so they need a dribbler.
Yeah.
I believe he led the NBA in steal percentage last year.
Cool.
He was up there.
Yeah.
He's also pretty old and had some injury issues last season.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, he plays bigger than he is, but not big enough. And DeLon Wright signs contracts every year somewhere. Usually it's like Miami.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good one.
I like DeLon Wright, but man, what are we doing here?
My least consequential, more the summer of the center. Jonas Valanciunas to the Wizards. 3-year, $30 million. Why? I mean, the Wizards they're flogging for flag.
But why for Jonas? Like, why did you take 3 years, $30 million? It's the summer of the center.
No, 3 and 30. No, he was early on that. 3 and 30. I feel like I did not think Jonas was getting 30 million guaranteed.
And he couldn't get better money.
No. Although there was talk that LeBron James is willing to take less if they could add a significant piece with the MLE. And one of the names included was Jonas Valanciunas.
Once dressed as a Wizard.
I love Jonas Valanciunas. But I don't know why the Wizards, I don't know. They got Sarr. They got Bagley. Got to play Bagley.
I mean,
you got to spend some money.
Move him, I guess, at the deadline. I have this theory. All right. Are all these international guys pumped to be in DC because of like cheap airfare back to Europe?
I don't know.
Like, are they running like deals out of BWI and Dulles that I don't know about?
I'll be honest. If I was an international person, I wouldn't want to live in Washington, DC for the next 12 months. But what do I know?
Might be 12 years.
It could be a while before the airports are open again. I feel like the move of Jonas, I didn't get it, but good for Jonas getting some money. The Wizards got to spend 90% of your cap on somebody. So yeah, they got some, he's training
Memphis
wheels.
Got Zach
he's
Edey,
he's a grown up. He's an adult, to help out their team. So who knows? What's the most overrated or overly touted move? Maybe you kind of thought maybe it was Paul George. Like, what's a move that people are talking about?
It might be Andre Drummond.
That you don't think is a big deal.
Well, it might be Andre Drummond. It's a great signing to get him to back up Joel Embiid, but people are talking about it like, oh, this solves the Embiid thing completely. No, it doesn't. Andre Drummond is a good backup. Yeah. And he's a good backup for Joel Embiid. But when Joel Embiid's not out there, Andre Drummond is not he's not 80% of Joel Embiid.
Here's a relatively big move that I think the team that made it isn't going to do much for him. And that is the Magic signing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
See, I have that as an underrated move.
So I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a great player. Maybe I need to explain the context of the term great there. He's a great role player. He's a great piece to have. I do think his role on the Nuggets maybe has inflated what his value is going to be in a different situation. And you also look at his playoff stats. They were flat out. They were not good. And yes, of course, this Magic team needs shooting badly. And there's a no downside thing for this.
Right.
Like they had, of course, cap space. If he picks up that 3rd-year player option, maybe that will hamper them some way. Hopefully they don't lose a player they want 3 years from now because of the money to KCP. But I don't think KCP is going to be, a piece that moves them from, hey, we're now competing with these other teams. I don't think he's that good anymore. But so like maybe I'm wrong, but for me, I feel like that signing, I don't think it's going to do very much to the Magic's like actual end game and their improvement. I disagree. From the Nuggets side, I think it's catastrophic.
Oh, it's an absolute disaster for the Nuggets. But I disagree on the Magic. I think that bringing in number one, this guy, this stuff is not, in my opinion, touted enough. But he's won 2 titles. That actually does matter, and it matters in the locker room. They needed a veteran, and preferably a guard who can shoot and defend, and he slots right in. And the money doesn't even really matter. Like you said, it'd be year 3 that it would be a concern. But he's a guy that they might get value from as an asset before, even like next summer. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a guy who he fits for a lot of teams. So
Yeah, that's true.
if through year one of the deal, they find out, oh, well, this isn't quite what we thought it would be. Okay, cool. But he's going to have a market next summer. I mean, KCP, that archetype is wanted by a lot of teams. So I like the signing. I think it just says something if you're the Magic.
Oh yeah.
It
Okay.
says, hey, look, man, like we're trying to improve our team. We're trying to spend some money. And if they're better, even just a couple of games better, and I think KCP gives you a couple of games. A couple of games better makes a big difference for the Orlando Magic, especially. But the Nuggets,
I agree. I agree. The Magic, this should improve the Magic, but also like if we played the win game thing, like they won 47 games last year. I'd be surprised.
Think they get to 49 wins with KCP?
I'd be surprised, but if they do, I don't know how much of it's gonna be KCP.
I mean, honestly, him all the credit on this show.
I do like the Magic's offseason. I like that they kept Gary Harris. The putting Gary Harris and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, two guys who shined next to Jokic, who now both might not shine outside of being of the warm bathing light of Jokic. Who knows? No, but I like Gary Harris and KCP teaming up. I like them keeping they kept Gogo Batadze. Like they got some center.
That's a great
questions deal. Things there. I think the Magic they're fine. They still need a straw to stir the drink though. Like they still need, I think, a playmaking point guard. I don't
100%.
They got to have some kind of creation and even I still think more shooting. Like KCP is not a volume dude, right?
No,
he's not. I think really
for them. He may get up 7 or 8 a game because they would want him shots.
To, but I don't think he's going to be as open. He's not going to be open like he was in Denver.
Probably not.
So I think because of that, I feel like it overall could be underwhelming. Yeah. Is there like any other overrated where you're like, I don't think this move, everyone's talking about it, but it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't think it's going to change anything.
I mean, maybe Chris Paul in San Antonio is one of those where everyone's like, all right, of course. Yes. He's going to throw passes to Wemby. Okay. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he will throw passes to Wemby. Don't get me wrong here, but, I don't know. I'm not as excited to buy. I would rather a young guy was in there playing with Wemby, and it probably doesn't matter. Chris Paul probably doesn't finish the season there because it's not like the Spurs are going to be good unless Wemby is amazing, and in which case we're having different conversations. Chris Paul being there does not matter one way or the other, in my opinion.
Here's another big move that I think I might, if I had to pick one side or the other, I would come down on the side of this move isn't actually going to do all that much. And that is basically the offseason that the Mavericks have had. They got Najee Marshall to replace Derrick Jones Jr. I can get behind the idea that it's a better fit. Not a lob finisher, but I think it's like a comparable defender and a better shooter. They also, of course, got Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson turned down bigger offers from the Warriors over the last 12 months to take a pretty cheap deal with the Mavericks. I don't know if it's a hot take, my opinion, and this is obviously clouded by how much I've turned on Klay Thompson over the past 2 years as a human being. But as Dave waves 4 fingers at me, a la Klay Thompson. We turned Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, and Tim Hardaway Jr. into Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall. For me, that and also picks were involved, some second round picks were involved, but for me, that's a little better. But it's not like way better. It's not like, right. Oh, wow, all of a sudden they're not going to get crushed by the Celtics. For me, it's like, yeah, okay. There's not a lot of downside. I'm not going to say it's a better.
There's not a lot of downside because I actually think that this is once again, what if Klay sucks? Yeah. I think defensively there's a downside. Now, offensively, we know Derrick Jones Jr. is not Klay Thompson. PJ Washington, by the way, should be the happiest guy on the planet because now PJ Washington is going to have all those wide open looks that Derrick Jones was sort of record scratching on. And I don't think PJ is going to have a problem getting shots up. PJ Washington should have a career year next season, playing next to Klay Thompson, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. And if he doesn't, then there's a big problem. Klay Thompson is not going to be open in the way Derrick Jones Jr. was at all. So that means that Luka and Kyrie are going to be able to do more things one-on-one. I mean, there's a world in which you have Kyrie Irving setting pin down screens for Klay Thompson. And what does that do for Kyrie's game? I think offensively, there's a lot of ways this can go positively. And by the way, if you go and look at Klay's numbers, he had a pretty good season shooting the ball at high volume, 9 threes a game. I think it was 38, 39%. So it's not like, I think the 0 for 10 has just stuck out in our mind for the last couple months. And we've all been thinking about how washed he looked at the end of the season. But there's no reason to think that in a scenario where his job's going to be easier, his job is going to be, can you be Kyle Korver for us and stay in front of your man as best as possible? That's the part that I worry about. And when I'm looking at what the Mavs have done, I think back to what they did 2 years ago after their conference final run. The reason that they made the run that they made was because their defense was amazing. Well, losing Derrick Jones, that was a huge piece of what they discovered defensively. I mean, Lively and Gafford obviously were huge parts of it too, but Derrick Jones and his versatility, his length, shot block, I mean, all the stuff that he was able to do out there was massive, and Klay's not going to be able to do that. Najee Marshall, do you get, like you said, you can't catch lobs the same way Derrick Jones does. So what does that mean defensively? Like, can he play the dunker the way that they had Derrick Jones Jr. play? Will he shoot the threes that Derrick Jones was taking in the playoffs? That's when you start saying, I don't know if they took a step back, but they definitely went away from the thing that got them to the finals.
I feel like Najee Marshall is this year's podcaster choice Keita Bates-Diop. I feel like last summer I heard so many podcasts be like, you know who's actually good? Who like Keita Bates-Diop or Keita Bates-Diop.
You know who never did that?
Was it not you?
Not
you
me.
were plugged in on the Spurs. I feel like when the Suns got Keita Bates-Diop, they're like, oh, that's an underrated signing. That guy does everything. He shoots a little. He defends a little. If you can
get the 12th man for the Spurs, you do that 100%.
Well, that's where I was like, oh, wow. You know who my top wing target is? The Pelicans' 10th man. And it's like, yeah, he's 6'7" and he hit 30 upper 30s on his threes. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure.
I'll say this: Nico Harrison has done a great job the last couple of years putting a good basketball team together. And you
can't fault the results over the last 12 months. I mean, wow.
I actually, and I'll say this: I think Klay was a better fit. I think it was a better fit for Klay on the Lakers. We will see what changes Dallas makes. I do not think Klay is going to just stand in the corner. I don't think that at all. I expect that. I think that they're going to come up with some very interesting stuff. I mean, having a shooter of that caliber playing with Luka and Kyrie, he's going to just trip into 16 points a game.
Yeah, I agree.
And he could be north of 20. To be honest with you, his shot diet is going to be amazing.
I kind of like for other teams involved, the third team in this three-way trade, the Hornets. The Hornets have had like a low-key, pretty solid, just little run here. They're just picking up some stuff.
Yeah,
they stink and they're picking up stuff.
Well, this is how Cleveland rebuilt. Cleveland did this exact same thing, picking up second-round picks, being in on a bunch of trades because you've got some cap space.
Yeah,
and that's how Cleveland built their way up to be able to trade for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. So the Hornets they get Josh Green for free. And then they got paid 3 second-round picks to take Reggie Jackson. I texted Adam Mares this morning. Be like, hey buddy, what are the Nuggets going to do with that Reggie Jackson space? He didn't text me back. So no, he actually did. No, the Nuggets apparently are getting Westbrook.
Yeah. And Jokic asking for Westbrook has me questioning a lot. Am I wrong?
If Michael Malone can do the one thing that a lot of other coaches have had the difficulty doing, Tyronn Lue got a little good at it. If Michael Malone is like if he can pull the plug quick, like to be like Westbrook is out, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Yeah, you're out. Thanks for playing today. You're not playing the final 10 minutes. That's where it gives me well, maybe it can work for us, but everyone is rightly doing the Arrested Development open marriage memes. Where it's like,
does Russ get along with DeAndre Jordan the way that everyone else gets along with DeAndre Jordan? Because DeAndre Jordan might be the secret here.
He could be the secret. The Nuggets still have to get.
They're out of this.
The Nuggets. Okay. The Nuggets. They have accepted the challenge to, not aggressively keep their squad together and to embrace the fact that the second apron rules us with an iron fist.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do here. But also, they've always done this. They paid to get rid of players in the past. Who's that guy who's the great rebounder? This is killing me. The guy with dreads who played for
Kenneth Faried. Back in the day, they didn't want to pay luxury taxes. If my memory's right, they used first round picks just to get off of Kenneth Faried. They have not paid to keep players. They've constantly sent out picks to dodge the luxury tax. And they of course didn't keep Bruce Brown last year. And you're like, all right, that makes sense. The Nuggets had so few players that they could depend on. And I know they have to pay Aaron Gordon next year, but you can pay to keep your players. You're allowed to pay to keep your players. They could have paid to keep their players. And maybe the positive spin is like, well, KCP 8 points per game in the playoffs. It's like, I don't care. I don't think you're going to get a player better than KCP. You could have kept, at the very bare minimum, the Nuggets, in my mind, had to keep their starters. And I think we've all pointed to what they had going for them last season.
Although the starters net rating in the playoffs, it bailed. It failed them. Of course, that's because we went down the roster last week talking about the bad shooting percentages of KCP, of Jamal Murray, and of all the bench guys. But you just can't put Christian Brown into that lineup. It doesn't work anymore.
Well, because it takes Christian Brown off your bench.
Yeah, and all these guys they draft, the quote unquote older guys that you draft, they all stink. There's 500 guys in the world you could put beside Jokic, and I believe they would look pretty good. And that is what I think a lot of these players are. And I don't get it. I feel like the Nuggets losing out on KCP. Closing. I feel like they've taken a big step back. And they even said Calvin Booth, who is horrible with the media. Calvin Booth has got to do one of these GMs who never talks to the press. His thing about whatever. I don't remember the exact wording, but him being we'll be fine with or without KCP. Christian Brown's net rating. And there's this talk that the Nuggets offered KCP the same contract. I don't believe that for a second. That Booth is just talking about all these players. I don't really need that guy. Yeah, we'll be okay. Him last year being I don't know if our main goal is to try to win our back-to-back title. We're going to try to compete for the long term. No, you have Jokic right now.
Literally. And he's the best player in the world.
You'll never see another Jokic in your entire life. So I don't get it. I mean, maybe Russell Westbrook's the answer. As a Grizzlies fan, I'm fine. Your team's worse, much worse now. So thank you for opening the door.
Should they offer Jamal Murray for Steph Curry?
Jamal Murray is, again, we said last week, he dodged criticism from the playoffs.
He did.
Jamal Murray's one of the secret, his money, where it's he's really good and he's had all these playoff heroics, but I don't know, what would it look like if you got another comparable player to also play beside Jokic? That's a mystery. That's one of the, I wonder what that would look like, but I don't know. I'm very down on what the Nuggets did. Let's take a break. And then we have a couple listener questions that honestly we can go over quickly because they sort of touch on things we've already mentioned, but we'll do that right after this short break. It is now time for the croissant questioner.
Yes. Are you going to
finish
that croissant?
Rapid fire, Dave. Caleb asks, Will the Thunder be the favorite in the West?
Feels like it.
Yeah.
Or Dallas. I mean, I think Dallas in the run that they went on, making it to the finals. And again, we don't know yet if they improved, but they didn't drop off too far from what we just saw in the finals. So if you think about a little bit of growth from Derek Lively, you could see, you can make a pretty strong argument that Dallas is in the mix up there at the top. But yeah, I think Oklahoma City, when you look at the two moves they made and how it addressed the biggest holes that they had, yeah, for sure. Although we haven't forgotten about Minnesota yet.
Yeah. For me, it's an easy one syllable. Yes. Magnus, the question master, asks, Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid is the blank best big three in the league. I think that's a good question. And we're losing our big threes.
We are losing our big threes.
We're losing our big threes. And I feel like,
is Maxey a big three?
Is it all-star? I mean,
yeah.
Is Maxey better than the third best player on the Celtics? Because you think about like Tatum and Brown and Derek White / Drew Holiday / Porzingis.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So the Celtics.
Then below that.
Okay.
I think the Celtics probably had the best big three.
LeBron, AD, and then when they get DeMar DeRozan.
No.
By the way,
D'Angelo Russell not in the big three.
There's no market for DeMar DeRozan. I think he would be.
Makes no sense.
I think he would be awesome on the Lakers. I feel like sometimes we're overthinking it. Where it's like, yeah, not a good defender, not a good shooter, but like the guy creates buckets for others. And if you slot him beside AD and LeBron and Austin Reeves and just dudes, guys who play basketball, I feel like that would be a big boost to what the Lakers could be. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have baller blindness. Well, I'm like,
that's the thing, right?
That guy's a hooper.
They kind of need some more complimentary guys. Like if they could have gotten Alex Caruso, we would all be very pumped.
Wow, what would he look like in a Lakers jersey?
Yeah, I know. Klay Thompson would have been a good fit. I'm not sure about
Klay Thompson. Apparently didn't want the offer. Is this right, or the Warriors didn't want the offer with the
trade, the sign and trade? I think was partially the Warriors. I mean, this was a sign and trade for Klay. The Warriors got a couple of seconds.
They wanted the trade exception. They wanted no salary coming back. They wanted
no players.
Warriors are also saving money going under the tax. Yeah.
Yeah, the fake apron. I think with the Warriors, you have to start thinking that they're looking to make some moves, but nobody wants Wiggins. So I don't really know what you do. I mean,
I want Wiggins, Dave. Sorry.
You want Wiggins?
Here's my underrated Zach. I want Wiggins in Memphis. I didn't even say what my underrated, most underrated. I'm contractually obligated. It's D'Anthony Melton going to the Warriors. I mean, if D'Anthony Melton's back's okay, D'Anthony Melton is one of the biggest supporting piece impact guys per minute in the NBA. You've replaced Klay's volume shooting with a wing who defends, rebounds, and knocks down threes. Who's
6'2".
They need guys with 6'10" wingspan.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying you have Steph, the all powerful deity Steph. Then you have just hustle dudes. You got Melton, you got Wiggins, you got our guy Kevon Looney, you got Gary Payton too. All those guys are second, third effort players. Even when Megan struggled last year, I still feel like he still has that in him, grab rebounds and defend. Yeah, probably. It needs a little boost. It needs the Kuminga offense. It needs Moses Moody to step up.
I mean, they need a center.
They have a lot of guys. Trace Jackson Davis. Why can't Draymond do that? The Warriors have turned into a plucky, try-hard fun team, but that's obviously just because they got my favorite player,
Steph Curry.
What about is there a big three in the Phoenix? No. KD and Devin Booker and
Bradley Beal. No,
Eubanks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the post big three world, because we really are there. I guess.
What about the Knicks?
Boston. No.
Brunson, and then who's two?
Bridges and Anunoby. No,
I don't know. All right, Celtics probably the Celtics probably the best big three, and then probably I still think, I mean, healthy Embiid, Paul George, Maxey. That's probably the second best big three.
Probably second.
Okay.
Oh, well, what about Shea, Jalen, and Chet?
I don't have Jalen even at the level. Jalen's not better than Paul George.
Not yet.
I mean, I think Embiid, Paul George is better than Shea,
Yeah,
Jalen.
probably.
And then your third, yeah, I think that's
I think you're right.
Anyways, thanks everyone.
Wemby and Wemby.
Wemby plus Chris Paul. Oh, come
Plus
on.
Wemby.
Did you see those? Did you see those practice highlights of Wemby and Gobert just throwing lobs to each other for France?
That's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. Thanks everybody for the questions. Also, thanks to newest Patreon supporters, Alan and Kuldar, for signing up. Appreciate your support. If you want to support this program, if you want to get your question on air, you got to do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Over there, you can join our listener Slack channel. You can get one monthly bonus episode. Plus, you can also play fantasy basketball with me and other listeners when the time comes. So if you want to get all that, go to patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, Dave, no awards segment this week, but is there anything else? What did you think of the draft? Did you have any draft opinions for which teams maybe capitalized the most, or anything that really surprised you?
No, not really. I did the Zach Edey pick was
oh, it was for you, Dave.
It was so good. And it was very interesting. No, I don't really have any draft takes. I mean, I did do a post-draft show, so I kind of gave my opinion on some of the stuff. I'm not a big draft guy. I need to see what these guys look like, if they play, when they play. I think Summer League coming up, starting next week is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really pumped to see bronnyjames because, I am rooting for him.
Here's a mistake I feel like the organizers of Summer League made. It looks like Zach Edey is not going to play for Team Canada, so I'm guessing that means he's going to play Summer League because he said he has to get ready for the NBA season. If that's the case, they put the Grizzlies in the tiny gym for 3 of their 4 games. I think Edey is one of the biggest name draws.
Big name. They're gonna. I
think he's gonna be. Yeah. So whoops, you guys made a mistake. Here's. I'm gonna throw some questions at you from some observations I made about the draft. Who has a better NBA career? Zachary Risacher or AJ Griffin?
I'm saying Risacher,
who was dumped to the Rockets for nothing. Yeah. The Rockets got a free AJ Griffin again. I when he was drafted, like 14th, 15th a couple seasons ago, he was supposed to be the best shooter in the draft. So now they've taken a flyer on a first round pick. The Heat have not done a lot. They did draft that guy Khalil Ware, quote unquote low motor. The Pistons, they signed Tobias Harris. So we have a nice reunion there. They sort of got involved with a salary dump for the Mavericks, but they didn't get much for it. They had to give up Quentin Grimes, which is like, why would you? Yeah, Quentin Grimes for, I think it was 2 seconds. But you get Ron Holland, you get Bobby Klintman, and then Tobias. And it sounds like they're going to be patient because they still have a ton of cap space.
They hired JB Bickerstaff. So
they hired JB Bickerstaff.
5 years.
Were they doing, I feel like going from Monty Williams to JB Bickerstaff is kind of a good cop, bad cop routine. Were they going, is that like the plan, the strategy? Like, hey, listen,
if it's bad cop, good cop.
You've been coddled first and emotionally supported.
Oh, is that what you think?
I don't know. Maybe that's not what Monty did last year in his heist.
I don't know. Players seem to like JB Bickerstaff.
The Jazz confound me in the draft. The Jazz got a lot of big name talent guys, even though they didn't have high picks. Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, and his whole I've been groomed by an older lady, and then him going to Utah. That's just odd. It's too on the nose.
It is a little too on the nose.
But also they are talking about they want, like you said, Kessler and Markkanen's available. I have no concept what their plan is there.
I mean, I think this is they're tanking. They want Cooper Flag. They want Cam Boozer.
Flagging for Flag as well. Okay.
Yeah. You only have to be so good, right? Like, what are they competing against?
All right. What about the Trailblazers? The Trailblazers, they got rid of one of their lottery picks. So the Wizards, I mean, very interesting stuff where the Wizards get Bub Carrington to go where they had 3 first-round picks. So they get Sarr, you get Bub Carrington. They took another guy. I think the guy from Miami who maybe is terrible. That's my summary of who they picked with the 26th pick. The Trailblazers, they acquired Denny Avdia, who was on a great contract, by sending out a future first-round pick. They drafted Donovan Clingan to add to their front court. Is this peak podcaster brain, Dave, that I'm talking myself into a, hey now, Donovan Clingan, Denny Avdia, Jeremy Grant front court with Simons and Shaden Sharp? What if Scoot takes a jump?
What about Scoot?
That's a competitive team. DeAndre Ayton's in the mix somehow. Maybe two guard. I'm not sure. No one's trading. I mean, it's the summer of the center, but who's trading for DeAndre Jordan?
DeAndre Ayton?
It's
a good question.
Yeah.
I've already seen people say, can Ayton and Clingan play together? No.
I think Ayton's saying it.
Yeah, sure. Call of Duty together for sure. They can do that. The Ayton thing is very interesting. Look, man, I'm not a big Denny Avdia fan. I don't think he's all that good. You are right. It is a good contract. Jeremy Grant, will he make it to training camp with Portland? Seems like they're trying to move him, and he's one of the few guys that's kind of gettable for teams that are looking to upgrade on the wing. So I don't know. But I can't talk myself into that team.
Okay.
I wouldn't even want to see that.
Jeremy Grant is one of those guys who he looks the part, and in a bad situation, he's just putting up stats, and you're like, why wouldn't you be the perfect fourth starter on a really good team? But who knows? I don't know if that's his destiny or not. We obviously didn't hit every team. I don't know if there's any here's final thought, Dave. The Raptors. Go.
I'm lost, man. I'm lost. Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes is a good player. He is not the franchise cornerstone, and that is one of the bigger problems that the Toronto Raptors have. Emmanuel Quickley, man. That's a lot of good for him. That's good for him.
I can get behind. In my mind, Emmanuel Quickley is a sixth man of the year. Yeah. And I can get behind, all right, like 25 million a year. That's going to be, what is it? Like 15% of your salary cap in a couple seasons, I think. And it's like, that is fine for the sixth man of the year. So, okay. Like doesn't kill me. Of course, maybe guards the most replaceable players in the NBA. The Scotty Barnes thing, maybe there's a year 4 leap in there, but this just giving out your full maxes to every single player. It's just, I don't know, especially now. Like, I understood how we used to live in the league where it was, you just got to keep your players. And so everyone gets a max, you get a max, but maybe teams haven't adjusted to the new reality of this second apron. Cause if teams are going to be like the Nuggets, they'd be like, well, we can't do it. Second apron. We got to get rid of these guys. If teams are going to bail on their all-in moves like the Clippers, when they have the richest owner, they're like, listen, I don't want to do repeater tax. If we have a chance.
Well, but the thing is, it's not even about the tax anymore. It's actually about how restrictive the team building stuff is. But once you get into the apron. Now, this is what they're saying. Now,
I know,
Keith, now you laid the numbers out. Yeah. I thought pretty succinctly. And the argument against using the second apron as an excuse, because it's really only 1 year that you have to worry about it. The numbers go up exponentially every single year. So, this idea that that the Nuggets couldn't bring back KCP and be in the second apron for 1 year. It doesn't hurt you that bad. Not right away.
So the second apron punishments, like, okay, you can't aggregate salaries, or you can't take back more in a trade. You can't do sign-in trades. You can't do buyout players. Like, none of that is that big of a deal. It's all about money. It's all about, for me, it's all about like, yeah, you have to pay $100 million extra, which is like, okay, that's a lot. But like, also, this is what you're here for.
Right.
You have Jokic.
But then also, you can't do that stuff, right?
But
like,
then,
to be like Ballmer, I think, was okay with just, hey, we'll write the check because we're going to win. But now you also can't do some of the things you need to do to win. I mean, you look at what the Mavs did at the deadline, some of the moves that they made, like, I mean, if they're a second apron team, they're not able to do some of this stuff.
The freezing your draft pick, for me, that's honestly meaningless to some degree, because again, the thing I laid out was the fact that with the cap rising by 10% in each of the next 5 years, when you're talking about, hey, the second apron line, I can't remember what the numbers were. It's like, it's going to be $250 million in a few seasons. And so like, if you do, once you get under the second apron, my understanding is your draft pick becomes unfrozen. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. The question I have, like, what if there's 4 teams that have a frozen pick in like 2032? Is it based on record then? The back of the, because they're like,
or do they go in the past?
Yeah, is it 20? Is it the first person who crosses over, they go to 30? That if someone else crosses over, they bump up, or does it actually like, I don't know, attach to your record?
Every team, but at some point,
if we all go over the second apron, what are they going to do? They're going to freeze all our picks. If we all do it, they can't punish all of us. The Celtics,
meanwhile, Denver's just not going to do it.
The Celtics don't care.
Well, that's because the Celtics are trying to sell.
So I thought it's a little bit funny where the Celtics yesterday announced like, oh yeah, we're going to pay Jason Tatum the first $300 million contract ever. Derek White's getting paid. Happy birthday, Derek White, by the way. But then they immediately announced like, oh yeah, the team's for sale. Our payroll is going to be $400 million next year. And
Fenway Sports Group can't make a bid because LeBron James is part of that investment group. So they can't make a bid.
It's very tasty.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see who winds up. It's probably going to be some private equity or some
Qatari wealth fund.
The Saudis, I'm sure.
Does the Qatari wealth fund have to divest from the Wizards? Who are they with? They're with someone.
They're with the Wizards. Yeah. Okay. Or was that the UAE? I can't remember. We're about to get into the real problem. I mean, if you think the American billionaires are bad, just wait. It's going to be awesome. I can't. Yeah.
Just open it up.
Yeah.
Highest bidder. Let's go.
Bloggers, be careful writing about the Celtics.
Wow.
New ownership.
Anyways, I think we covered as much of the league as we possibly could in the past 65 minutes. Good job, Dave. Of course, Summer League starts on Monday.
I'm going to see you next week.
I'm very excited about it. If anybody else out there is going to be in Las Vegas on the first weekend of Summer League, hit me up.
Let's do a meetup.
I don't know the exact times you're yet, but
we'll run a 5K. We'll do a 5K meetup.
Let's do a 5K at 2 p.m.
7 a.m.
in Vegas.
7 a.m. No. 5K,
I want peak blacktop heat.
I'll do that. I'll do that for the bit. No shirt though.
I will die. No, anyways, hopefully let's do a meetup in Las Vegas. At the very least, we'll see you at the gym. I'll hand you some Fastbreak Breakfast stickers. If you want some more of this program, you get that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Do us a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Fastbreak Breakfast YouTube channel. All right, you guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fastbreak break, man. You understand? I will remember.